Good evening everyone, and welcome to this next episode of What Do I Know? Me and John Smith. Well, in this episode I'm going to explore the point of order that John Smith came out with at Handforth Parish Council full council meeting in April 2017. Such a point of order which is actually universally known, certainly within, not just within the village here and around the village, but in the surrounding area, as the diarrheaotribe. That should give you a fair idea of what it's full of. And I'm going to start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read out, because I've got the whole thing here. I've got what he wrote here. I've got the actual thing here, thanks to the late Councillor Cllr. And I'm going to read out what this clown wrote. So I'm going to start. This is how he starts it. As I have not been told otherwise, I am treating the accusations against myself and Councillor Sullivan as coming from Councillor Cllr, and that he is responsible for the content of the point of order he raised on the 14th of March 2017. Stop. The point of order you and your cohorts stopped, so we never got to hear or see or feel the full gist of it and understand exactly what was in that point of order. That point of order that you shouted down. And you weren't on your own when you shouted it down, but it was shouted down. He goes on. I found myself going through line by line and spending time, too much time, finding lies and inconsistencies all constructed on the, this is bad punctuation, and I use the word loosely, facts as gleefully brought to everybody's attention by Councillor Cllr. Well, these facts were not brought to attention by Councillor Cllr because you were one of the people, Smith was one of the people that shouted him down. He wasn't on his own, the chair, Cynthia Samson did it. Backing from the audience and shouted him down. But there's no lies in that, as you've probably all seen. We have two different emails, one inextricably different from the other and longer from the other. He goes on. When making a statement, I usually increase the font size to enable accuracy. Really, if you believe that, you believe anything. I can't find a copy of any original documentation which shows I did this, so perhaps I read out from an original email with smaller print. I don't know, and I don't offer this as an excuse in any way, just an attempt to understand why I didn't correctly read the 2 lines of that email. What? Why you didn't correctly read 2 lines? You'd got a whole paragraph that had gone in that wasn't in the short version that Ashley confirmed was the only version that he received. What you've also admitted to here, and I think this is pretty foolish, saying, I can't find a copy of the original documentation. In other words, you chose not to. What you're doing here is you're trying to find the politest possible way of admitting guilt. Well done. We saw through it. We knew exactly what you were saying. Okay. So you're not conning. No one's been conned here at all. He's not conning anyone. He isn't. He goes on. I do need to offer an apology to Councillor Sullivan for not reading her email correctly in paragraph 2. Well, what about the paragraph you invented? You embellished the whole thing. You added a paragraph to it. You embellished the whole thing. We've got one short email. I'm saying you, I shouldn't be saying you, Councillor Smith, or should I say Smithy, Johnny, perhaps, asked for this email to be minuted. Ashley did it. We picked up on it. The emails didn't match. Then we get the email that Ashley, he himself, has admitted in council on video that he received. It's a short version. Yeah? You read out a version of an email that was a forgery. And it wasn't just the contents of the email, as I, previously referred to. The header of the email was changed. The primary and secondary recipients were all changed around. The way the date and the time was set out didn't match, and even the subject of the header in the short version that Ashley received didn't say re-harassment or FW for forward harassment. The long version did. It didn't match. The short version even didn't say Dear Ashley. The one you read out did. Again, I said you. It shouldn't. I need to get that right. I apologise. The one read out by Councillor Smith said Dear Ashley. The version received by Ashley didn't. He goes on. I have viewed the video recording of my reading of her email, and for some reason I have not read the first 2 lines of this paragraph. Meaning paragraph 2. This was, with regards to the conversation I had with the police, the incident I have discussed with them is not, as far as I am concerned, a HBC matter. Well, I don't know what you're trying to achieve there, because I don't know what he's trying to achieve. Because if you look at it, he's left off the bit he added. As you were there, Ashley. Convenient that bit's left off, isn't it? He goes on. I have no idea what could possibly be gained from omitting these 2 lines intentionally. If anything, the omission detracts from the point Councillor Sullivan is trying to make. This is nonsense to me. If you can't figure out, or if he can't figure out, whoever, if Smithy can't figure out what could possibly be gained from omitting these 2 lines, then really he's I don't think I need to give a description now. I think it's plainly obvious, isn't it? If you're going to leave those out intentionally, it means you're trying to politically gain, I should say, but in a manner that is deceitful, that is perfidious. All right? You're not doing it, straight. Honestly, you're not. He goes on and he says, but Councillor Tolver feels, and he quotes here, she aided and abetted Smith in his deception, either by act or omission. Well, I don't know whether former Councillor Sullivan did or didn't. And there's loads of questions there that were never answered. But what I will say again is, it certainly seems strange we've got 2 different emails. One's a short version, one's a long version, and there's no record through the webmaster from the HBC website, as was then, that long version was the email that was sent to Ashley. All the records say is that it's a short version. He goes on, listening to the video again. I didn't say he, I said it. That sentence doesn't make sense. He then goes on and says, Tolver, so he can't call him counsellor. So there you go. We've got somebody who's got no manners, no respect, no regard for those he's with. Then states that I made up, as you were there when I spoke with the officer, Ashley, you know this is not a council matter. What I did was add the word Ashley. I have no idea why. You don't. It's called invention. Delusion. It's called psychosis. Yeah? You dig? You get it? I didn't make up the rest of the sentence. Well, you did. Practically you did. I mean, yeah, okay, you know this was not a council matter, was there, but the rest of it wasn't. See, you did. There's a large chunk of that sentence you made up. And there's no denying it. There's no hiding away from it. Oh, by the way, I just thought I'd tell everybody this point of order Councillor Smith brought to council is yet again dropped on people like that in flagrant breach of the rules. No. You can go and ask, well, you can't ask former Councillor Tolver, or the late Councillor Tolver, I should say, but you can certainly ask former Councillor Samson, former Councillor Cllr. The first they knew this point of order was when this absolute meringue dropped it on them. He goes on. Then we come to the accusations from Councillor Tolver. What he said is, this is pure invention by him. Its sole purpose to discredit a fellow councillor, Councillor Sullivan did not say these things in her email. Councillor Smith plucked them out of thin air. Over 100 words of pure fiction, not to mention nonsense. This is talking about this third paragraph that went in, that was not in the original, that was the originally sent email. He continues. Councillor Tolliver continues. This time he remembers Brian's title. Great, well done. I was given no opportunity to see either the original email or Councillor Smith's mutilated version. However, Councillor Sullivan did. Her email was only 3 days old, so it must have been very fresh in her mind, but she did not intervene to say that Smith was putting words into her mouth. Well, yeah, Brian uses the word Smith, doesn't use Councillor Smith. It's not good. I wouldn't do that. I would have said Councillor Smith. Continues, I now turn to the deception practiced by Councillor Smith. This is in Brian's point of order, by the way. He says this on video. Councillor Smith has asked if I would mind reading a statement from her in the form of an email which was sent to the parish clerk and copied in to the chair and myself. This goes on. Even this is untrue. This is in Brian's point of order still. Even this isn't true. So I'm not actually seeing some of Brian's point of order that really didn't see the light of day because of the screaming and yelling and the shouting down on it. Even this is untrue. In fact, we can see from the email copy that it was addressed to Councillor Smith and copied to the chair and the clerk, which it was. I will add. I've got my copy. It was. This was no simple clerical error, for he then invents the opening courtesy as, Dear Ashley. Brian continues, does this matter? Yes, it does, because he's trying to suggest that Ashley, the clerk, was included in the interview the police had with these two councillors. The clerk was not present at that interview. This is an attempt to give credibility to reports these councillors made of that interview, a spurious legitimacy by pretending the clerk was party to it. He was not. Now, we proved that. And I put that in previous videos, that Ashley was not part of that meeting. And I'm going to want to go on record. I actually felt sorry for him at this time, because this is I'm not going to say two people or one person. There's three people trying to fit him up here. And those three people know who they are. John Smith goes back to his rant. My response. This is a copy of the email. Full stop. What a weird sentence. Dated 30th October 2016. Full stop. So in other words, we've got punctuation that's all over the place here. English quite clearly, in terms of punctuation, ain't a strong point. Figure that one out. The header shows that the email was addressed to the clerk, not myself, as Councillor Tolliver states. Wrong. This proves that he has now looked at the long version when writing this diarrheaotribe, because the only version that was ever sent to Ashley was sent to him, was sent to John Smith, and Ashley and the chair, dear Sin, were copied in. So John Smith saying that proves to me, and it proved to us, that he was looking at the long version, the forgery. So he did have it. There's another giveaway. As soon as I saw that in the video, I thought, yeah, you know what, he's lying again. He goes on. The header shows that the email was copied to the chair and vice chair, not the chair and clerk, as Councillor Tolliver states. Wrong. The actual version shows it was sent to John Smith, copied in to the clerk and the chair. So this here clearly says to me, when he's written this, he's been looking at the forgery, the long version. And here, the proof's in the pudding. It's there. He then just writes a nonsensical sentence, therefore, with no comma, a good reason for Councillor Sullivan addressing the email, Dear Ashley. But it wasn't. The original email, the correct email, the short version, didn't have the opening courtesy of Dear Ashley. It had nothing of the sort. He goes on, as this was not a fabrication, invention, deception, nonsense, or alteration, then the straw man of the reasons for Councillor Sullivan and me colluding all falls. So hey, no, it doesn't. You've given us carte blanche to know that you've actually used the forged version to put this together. all this paragraph is that you've written here is just crap. Sheer unadulterated crap. That's all you've done. You've used, I know we've used, Brian knew it, we all knew it, my dad knew it, Barry knew it, Mike knew it, we all knew when you did this, you have to have used the long version, the forgery, to write this. You're, at this stage, when he read this out, he's already pulling a con. He's already sitting as a counsellor, vice chair as our counsellor, and he's lying. He's lying. He's openly lying. He probably doesn't know he is, but we know he is. He then goes on and says, Councillor Sullivan and I have not, as Councillor Tolliver says, no comments, no punctuation, pretended that Ashley was party to the meeting. He was in the office, sat at his desk, I think he means sitting, but he was not a party to the meeting. No, he wasn't. Ashley left the office and took a phone call. Ashley was not sitting in the office once you two met the police officer and you spun your web of lies. He wasn't, and we know that, and now the world knows that. He goes on. Councillor Tolliver then states that the PCSO called upon the resident and stated that she had been asked to ask him not to attend the Finance Committee meeting on the following Monday. And he puts this in block capitals. This exchange was witnessed, this is Brian, the officer's normal patches Alderley Edge. Not harmful, so the likelihood of her knowing about any forthcoming HBC meetings is vanishingly small. Without this ban on the resident being discussed with the two councillors. How did the officer find out there was an upcoming Finance Committee meeting if they did not discuss it with her? Very good question, and it's a question that I would always put in cross-examination. Somebody had to tell her. Somebody had to show her. Who? He goes on, my response is, I have not said I did not discuss the Finance Committee meeting with the officer. That was not what was put with you. That was not what you were asked. You were asked, did you tell that officer to tell me that I was not allowed to attend either that Finance Committee meeting or future meetings? That's the question you were asked to answer. And yet again, you have refused to do it. That's not being political. That's being purely dishonest. He then gives a timeline of events. He goes, the following is a timeline of events. He goes, Tuesday 11th of October, Bruton threatening behaviour to Councillor Sullivan. So he's lying again. I've got 7 witness statements as the person who said, already let out there, that show that I did not have any threatening behaviour whatsoever towards anyone on that evening. But here's the giveaway. Tuesday 11th of October, J. Smith emailed to Cllr requesting advice. Why would he do that? Why? Wednesday 12th of October, email from Cllr advising contact police as not HBC matter. Wrong, Ashley, but I understand where you're going. Wednesday 12th of October, J. Smith contacted the police. Yes, and we know you span a web of lies. You told the police that your behaviour was mine. And I'm addressing that person. I should say, he told the police that his behaviour was mine. Bollocks. Right, on that same day, the 12th of October, a Thompson email version of events, 11th of October, following HBC meeting, including false allegations by Bruton that the Bruton family requesting no more threats to break his legs. No such threats have been made. Bollocks, yes they have. And they were. Fact. However, the person that made those threats now is a damn good friend of mine, and we look out for each other. Okay? We've mended our ways, and now we work on the same page. Yeah, he was once a renter mob, now I'm proud to call him a ratepayer. I'm going to just raise an important point here. When we found out about these emails between Ashley and John Smith, and bearing in mind this was April 2017, I did an FOI for those emails because I'm entitled to them. In fact, actually, I did an FOI and I saw a subject access request. I was unsuccessful with that because Ashley deleted them. He should never have deleted them. And I'll tell you for why. One, those documents would have formed part of a police investigation. And it looks to me they have been concealed from that investigation. That is not good skills. That's misconduct in public office, and it's also a severe illegality as well. You cannot do that. I have my suspicions that those emails were likely deleted at the point my FOI request and my SAR were received, which you're not allowed to do. You get a SAR for those, you know you've got them, unless you can find a way of not disclosing them as an exemption. I'm sorry, it's tough shit. You've got to do it. You've got to divvy them up. They weren't. So what was in those emails, we haven't seen. I'd love to know. Unfortunately, we'll never know unless there's, a wizard out there or something like that, or a miracle worker out there who can somehow find them from somewhere. Yeah. I believe there's a whole bunch of false accusations against me in there, and lies, whatever, and that's why they were concealed from me. He then goes, Tuesday 18th of October, interview with police officer Fawcett, I think he means PC Fawcett, who went to Bruton House, but he got no response. Yeah, because I was at work and everybody else was out. There are those of us who do work. Officer Fawcett, not on leave for a week, therefore job passed to PCSO, so in other words, somebody with no authority at all. Friday 21st of October, PCSO hiding on leave, so discussion with PCSO Stanley, ref Councillor Sullivan's concerns about possibility of Bruton attending finance meeting of 24th of October. So we're admitting here. This is how stupid this guy is. He's now gone and written an admission that there was a discussion about me coming to the finance committee meeting and the possibility and likelihood of stopping me and banning me. Bravo. Well done. Thanks for the evidence. Great. Love it. Super. Yeah. Asked, could a police officer attend the finance meeting 24th of October? No officer available. Yeah. He said, the reason I asked for police presence was because Councillor Sullivan was very concerned that Bruton would repeat his abusive behaviour. She was extremely concerned. Well, considering I didn't perpetrate any abusive behaviour. Have you noticed it's gone from aggressive to abusive? We've transgressed, gone backwards in the alphabet. What's that telling you? That's totally inconsistent. That is is it aggressive behaviour? Is it abusive? What is it? The behaviours are two different behaviours. You don't need a psychologist to point that out. But I did give this to my dad, God bless him. And as a doctor of psychology, he said, that's inconsistent. And he would have quite gladly written, a very quick report, advisory report for barrister to say, look, this he's talking about two different kind of behaviours. There's gross inconsistency here. So we're seeing it. Saturday 22nd of October, PCSO Stanley met with Bruton's. Yeah, that's true. That's the only thing he's got right. He then goes on, he says, I'll now read two emails involving PCSO Stanley, the first of which was sent on Sunday the 23rd of October. Then he says, Councillor Tolliver states. Now, what he's done here is, he's not published the emails. He's kept them out of this diarrheaotribe. And I'm going to tell you why. We took a transcript of that meeting. We noted what was in the emails, and we actually wrote to the police and said, is this accurate? Are these emails the same? Well, you're not going to believe this if I told you. Well, I bet you've guessed it. Yeah, I think you have, haven't you? The emails he read out didn't match. I'll leave you with that one. And move on. Yeah. He then goes on, Councillor Tolliver states, the exchange was witnessed, says Tolliver, again, no Councillor Tolliver, by whom? By someone called Bruton. Well, yeah, you'd be right, there's actually four, and there was also another person called Williams. Oh dear. He said, Alan Bruton accused Councillor Sullivan and myself and the rest of the party I was with of verbal and physical abuse in the Bull's Head on the 8th of October 2016. Again, he's lying. No, I didn't. I didn't accuse him or his wife of anything. He never asked me the names of the associates. I'd have given the name of the associates quite gladly. Yeah, of course I would. I'd have given it up. If he'd been polite, decent to me, not threatened me, not assaulted me, all that shit, I'd have done it. Yeah. He said, despite the pub being full, no staff or customers reported the assault taking place. What you do in those situations, unless you're a complete and utter blockhead, you get out. You leave the trouble, and that's what I did. And you ring friends, and you report it, and you have a record, and that's what I did. I did everything right. Then he goes, Bruton did not report it. He's a fantasist. No, I'm not. I did report it because my dad and former councillor Michael Thompson came to the Bull's Head with me, and I've still got the written record of that report. All right. We had the then manager, you know, the one that you go on the railway with now, yeah, and the bar manager, and he knows who he is. As far as me being a fantasist, I think you need. And I'm going to have to say this. I think he needs to go and look in the mirror, because I'm not the fantasist here. If you wanted this to be believable, here's a piece of advice. Why didn't you start it once upon a time or in a galaxy far, far away? You'd have had far better chance. He goes on. Councillor Tolliver then states that the undisputed facts are that the interview took place in council offices. Smith's version is that the clerk was present. This clearly would make it a council matter. Sullivan's version is that it is a private matter, not an HPC concern. Here we go again. My response. Rubbish. Eh? I don't think it's rubbish. If I have a private conversation with Ashley in his office, that does not mean that HPC councillors are to be made privy to that conversation. That would be absurd. Well, it depends what it's about, doesn't it? If it is council business, then Ashley has, by law, got to report it to councillors. If he doesn't, it's misconduct. Councillor Tolliver should mention to Constable Fawcett that he is a member of HPC and ask him what transpired in Ashley's office as it was council business. What do you think his reply would be? Well, I'll tell you what. If I'm Constable Fawcett, or PC Fawcett, or Officer Fawcett, I would look at it and say, because you've had it in the council offices, you've made it council business. Simple as that. He goes on. Councillor Tolliver then states, in any event, anyone denying access to an HPC meeting is very much an HPC matter, whatever part the council has played in it. My response. The easy answer is no part, because that did not happen. Oh, yes, it did. Stop your lying. Stop lying. Oh, yes, it did. Councillor Tolliver refuses to believe myself, Councillor Sullivan and Burgess, the police, or anybody at all except the Brewsons, one of which is a liar who makes up assault claims. No, I don't. No, I don't. You see, this is what I'm talking about. He cannot tell the truth. He is a complete idiot. And this is where he really goes on. One in the Freemasons, which didn't happen. No, took place in the Bull's Head. Well, hang on. I'll tell you what, when you said that, you opened your mouth, Rent-A-Gob. Because you fantasised, because you deluded, because you hallucinated, I actually went to the former landlord of the Freemasons, or should I say, land persons, with the police. And they confirmed that I'd never made an accusation of an assault in the Freemasons pub at all. That I'd been a very good customer. Friendly, always helpful, decent. Yeah? You say no assault took place in the Bull's Head. I'm sorry, pal. It did. And you've got to learn to live with it. You can lie and lie and lie as much as you want. Get whoever else you want to do it. The fact is, the truth will always come bite you in the arse, and that's what it's doing. He continues, Councillor Tolliver again. Councillor Sullivan says in her email that she prides herself on always being open and honest. Normally I would agree, but in this case, after asking Smith to read her email, and he changed it hugely, she did nothing to stop it or rectify things later. This is certainly not my notion of being open and honest. She aided and abetted Smith in his deception, either by act or omission. Clearly I was not satisfied with her unclear answer to my original email, so why not ask to speak with me to talk things through if there is nothing to hide? And why email Smith and Samson for advice rather than have a chat with them? To me, the evidence suggests something very like a planned attack to discredit me and to throw me off the scent of what really happened relating to the police interview. Smith goes, my response. Councillor Sullivan was exasperated with the continued emails which effectively accused her of lying because she didn't give the answer that he wanted, which would vindicate the Bruton's version. No, which would actually mean she'd have to tell the truth and prove that what I'm saying, my late father said, my brother said, my mother said, oh yeah, the Williams, my partner, what she said, what she witnessed. Huh? Not a good idea calling this family lies, mate. Not a bright move at all. He goes on. She wrote to the clerk for advice on what to do and the chair for the same reason. What would be the point of a chat with you? Your mind was made up. Her answers were perfectly clear, but didn't fit your idea of the truth. Everyone else, including the police, are part of a great conspiracy to discredit Councillor Tolver. Here's the invention, come on. I think you should have written Once Upon a Time or In a Galaxy Far, Far Away before saying that. I'm certain he should have done. The basis of your point of order is that I fabricated and invented 100 words to discredit you. Well, no, you did a bit. There was a bit more than that done. And everybody knows that. Councillor Sullivan's email proves my version, with the exception that I referred to the above was exactly as Councillor Sullivan wrote it. Bullshit. It wasn't. And I'm going to say this. Smithy knows it. We all know it. The short version was the version she wrote and sent. We all know it. But we've done all the checks. We've done all the investigations. And it was done. So that's just a pure lie. Yeah. Even when she pointed out last week that she did write the paragraph, she was ignored. She didn't put anything out. She didn't. Whoever has been trawling through old videos and minutes has too much time on their hands. Really? Well, here's the giveaway. I was the one that read the minutes. I was the one that watched the video. I did it because I was told of what you read out. Yeah. And I caught you. And I hung you out to dry. And you wrote this. Yeah. I'm laughing as I'm reading this. You should see that. If you think this hurt me at the time, it didn't. If you think it hurts me now, it doesn't. It makes me laugh. Rather than email me or contact me via the clerk with concerns that there was something already with the information which you held, you decided to go full on with accusations of improper behaviour by myself and Councillor Sullivan with no prior notification. Well, if we'd given you prior notification, Einstein, what do you think you would have done? You'd have hidden the evidence, wouldn't you? It's the art of investigation, and it's one of the exemptions. You don't always have to give people notification on an investigation, of course, unless you get an investigation like we won, where you had to, for some reason, Cheshire East and Bevan Britton didn't. I'll come to that much later on. Not in this video, but much later on. With the wrong information, you've seen this as yet another opportunity to discredit me. No. We put you on the spot, son. You've been put on the spot because we've caught you. We had you. Everybody knows it. We knew it at the time. Everybody knew we'd got John Smith. We knew we'd got a hooky email. So you put him on the spot. Do you think that would not happen in Parliament or up at Cheshire East where you are now? Go on, do me a favour. Go and do this at Cheshire East and see what happens. I'd love to see what happens. In fact, I might make it my business to come and watch that. I think you've done an excellent job of discrediting yourself. Well, no, I don't. I think Brian's done an excellent job. Actually, he did an excellent job, I should say, of outing John Smith. You. Yep. Now, this is where he goes on a rant. There have been numerous threats of legal action by Thompson and Tolver. This set of accusations are the latest in a systematic attempt by Councillors Tolver and Thompson, and no, it's usually the title this time, to seek to question mine and other councillors' behaviour and suitability to be members of HPC. What these councillors do is employ an agent provocateur. Really? Do you know what an agent provocateur is? Well, if you don't, I'm going to tell you. And for all those you don't know, it's actually someone who's employed and paid to get somebody to break the law. He's referring to me. They didn't need to employ me to get you to break the law. You did it of your own free will. Affray, assault, what we did, malicious and vexation accusations to the police, misconduct in public office, forgery, which is also fraud. You did it of your own free will. Smith has done it of his own free will. Don't need me. He's done it. I don't need to say anymore. Yep. Yeah, and he goes, I'm a member of the public to make the complaint. As far as I'm concerned, I think Brian and Mike made a lot of the complaints. Yeah. There is a pattern, as you will see. And he goes on. CCTV. Councillors Thompson and Tolver voted against installation of CCTV in Hanforth. Yeah, this particular one we did. For a good reason. That is their democratic right. Bravo, you've got something right there, take it out. However, it says Councillor Tolver stated when the installation was being debated that it would only take one person to declare themselves not happy with the CCTV monitoring, that it would have to be removed and the cost borne by the council. He doesn't go any further, doesn't justify that, but that statement by Brian is absolutely correct. And it is. He goes on, War Memorial. The day before the first meeting of the current council, an email was received from a member of the public who wished to remain anonymous. No, it wasn't a member of the public. It was actually a solicitor, and it wasn't me. This email threatened HPC with High Court action. No, it didn't. It threatened legal action, but not High Court action, so that's a total lie. That's an embellishment. If the chair, Councillor Burgess and myself took part in the vote, and we missed somebody out, Councillor Sullivan, to award a donation to the Hanforth Community War Memorial Foundation. The anonymous writer stated that should we not vote the way they wanted, that was not... I've got the letter, I've got the email. This is not what we said, this is just a lie. After the meeting, they will be waiting with a white envelope in their hand to give the paper to the parish clerk. That was not what was said. They were warned there was going to be a process server there who had to make the decision to decide whether or not to serve that documentation. He goes on, the only person walking around the hall holding a white envelope was Ella Burton. Yeah, you're right, because I was the designated process server. I wasn't the solicitor, I wasn't the anonymous writer. But I tell you what he admits here, and I believe the then clerk was bullied. There was a meeting after that council meeting, at which the names of those in that legal documentation were outed. I can tell you now that Brian Tolver, Ian Clark and his son, as councillors, got up and walked out of that meeting in disgust and came immediately to the Bull's Head and told me what happened. I took the decision that night as the process server not to issue that legal documentation because confidentiality had been breached, and I viewed now there was a very serious danger from rent-a-mob to these solicitors' clients. I did my job, and I'm proud of that. And do you know what? I got paid for that and all. It then goes financial irregularities. Recently, Councillor Thompson presented a dozen or so items which he felt were evidence of incorrect financial management, which would be the responsibility of myself as the chair of Finance Committee. Pathetic English. These were produced by a member of the public. As many will be aware, once these errors in financial management were brought to light, Councillor Thompson was in favour of instructing the Specialist Parish Council Auditor to recheck their incorrect audit. For those not aware, the auditor found no fault with any items raised by the member of the public. Lie. It was never sent. It should have gone to the internal audit, and for some reason it only went to the external audit, and they came back and said, we can't help you. You've got to go to the internal auditor, and it never got sent. A comment was made on one item which referred to the purchase of a banner to identify the premises where HBC-backed CPR instruction would be taking place. He stated that members of the public should not order goods on behalf of the council. What he wasn't aware of was that the member of the public created the design online on the supporters' website. I then ordered and paid for the banner with my own bank card and subsequently reclaimed the cost through the normal procedure of petty cash from the clerk. Bollocks, no you didn't. And I can tell you didn't, because that formed part of my forensic financial investigation. You didn't. And then came the admission in council, so that's a complete lie. There was no reclaimed voucher attached to that, no reclaimed documentation. That money was paid straight out to a member of the public. And I'm going to say this now. Smith himself said in September 2015 there was no need to buy any more advertising material because it was so popular, so well known in the village, in the parish. And you know what? If you look at the September 2015 minutes, you'll find that in it. Yeah, he minuted his statement. An extra cost to HBC was incurred for the pointless re-audit, which vindicated me. No, it didn't. It didn't vindicate you at all. He's lying again. It didn't vindicate Smith at all. It vindicated no one. We didn't get a result because the documentation inquiry was not sent to where it should have gone. It would be expected that as an ex-chair of the Finance Committee, Councillor Thompson would have checked the member of the public's work and realised that the accusations were baseless. Well, he did, and he realised they weren't. He said, I've already alluded to this next incident, false allegations. Councillor Thompson wrote to all councillors and a member of the public complaining about my behaviour after the meeting of the 11th of October. The monitoring officer has stated that these events were nothing to do with HBC. No, they didn't. The monitoring officer said no such thing. So that, again, is a lie. He also stated that unless councillors were acting in an official capacity representing the council, any complaints would be invalid. No, the monitoring officer did not say that. It's another lie. Councillor Thompson thought fit to include in his email regarding my behaviour an accusation of assault by myself and he's lying again. There's no accusation made against you of assault. Never has, never was, never has been. It's just a liar. In the Bull's Head and a request by the Bruton family. Councillor Thompson then stated, and he quotes Mike, Mr. Bruton and his family have subsequently advised me that should any councillor or their associates seek to harm or abuse Mr. Bruton and his family in any way, that immediate action will ensue, including the threat to seek the closure, CLOSER, not closure, so I can't spell, of the council in light of these past events and previous threats to break legs and social media operated by Councillor Burgess. No threats were made originally. Yes, they were. Dickhead. They were absolutely there. Happened. I wouldn't say it if it didn't happen. All right. I've said. I don't need to repeat. No assault took place. Yes, it did. Verbal and physical. But not by you or your wife, as you like to dream up that I said it had. No verbal assault took place. Just said it did. No contact with Alan Bruton whatsoever. Bollocks. Yes, it did. No complaints by Bruton to bar staff. Bollocks. Yes, it was. On the Monday after. Monday the 10th. No complaints by Bruton to pub management. Bollocks. It did happen. On Monday the 10th. And I had 2 witnesses. Neither at the time of the alleged incident or since. Bollocks. It's happened. I have not been investigated by the police on suspicion of assault yet because you were never even named. He was never even named. Smith was never even named. So there you go. He's given it away. He's given away that he's lied. If he's not been investigated, why is he saying I've said it? If he'd assaulted me, I'll tell you one thing, if he'd assaulted me, one or two things have happened. Either he got sorted out, or I would have brought the police in. As neither happened, you can see that he's lying. Councillor Thompson is happy to leave these false allegations. Oh, well, they're not false allegations. They need addressing, and they still haven't been addressed. Right. Now, this is where he's cut off. He's not allowed to read this bit. Cynthia, or dear Sin, stops him. Well, I'm going to read it. And it's entitled Parish Clerk Recruitment. And he writes, the selection of the new parish clerk interview process was the same as that employed by Councillor Tolver when he was selecting the previous clerk. Well, he wasn't. What caused so many emails from the councillors was the fact that the Secretary of Friends of Stanley Hall Park had applied. The three applicants were all of good standard. Councillors Tolver and Thompson were convinced that councillors on the recruitment panel would not be capable of being objective. How right they would be and were. Councillor Tolver, by his remarks in these numerous emails, is effectively stating that the four councillors concerned are unable to act independently, fairly, honestly, because they know one of the candidates. This is an accusation which is effectively saying the four councillors are corrupt and the only option is to recuse ourselves from the voting process. Well, that would have been the honest and right thing to do, wouldn't it? But none of the four of you did it. He quotes the Localism Act. He says, under the Localism Act 2011, Parliament abolished the Standards Board regime and all the rules under it. It has done this because, quote, that centrally imposed bureaucratic regime had become a vehicle for petty, malicious and politically motivated complaints against councillors, unquote. What's the point of that? It's senseless. It doesn't answer anything. It also recognised that the rules which govern unitary authorities such as Cheshire East did not apply to parish councils for a very good reason. The size of PCs means there is a good chance of paths crossing much more frequently due to the smaller area, villages and parishes. Style PC had a vacancy for a clerk for which two applicants were known to all members of the council. These people were involved in numerous groups in the village, in the same way that a HBC clerk candidate is and HBC councillors involved in the recruitment process are. Well, shall we reveal who that candidate was? It's Janet Taylor. Enough said. Would it be acceptable for an aunt of one of the candidates to be involved in the selection interviews without informing of the candidates? Councillor Tolver allowed that as chair during the selection of a cooperative council at the last council. No, he didn't. That's a lie. It didn't happen. There's a damn sight lot of evidence we've got in the file stores that show that. At the HBC meeting of 10th of May 2016, following the interviews of candidates for the position of parish clerk, Councillor Tolver stated the following. I would like to record my extreme concern that Councillors Samson, Smith, Sullivan and Burgess have taken part in the vote on this item on the agenda due to their close association, friendship and or acquaintance with one of the candidates interviewed for the post of parish clerk. I consider they should have declared their interest and taken no part in the debate or vote, and I consider to have done so to be morally wrong and a clear conflict of interest. I also believe it was almost certainly in breach of the law. I have given prior notice of my concerns to all councillors of the parish council. I proposed an alternative panel of independent interviewers, but the above-mentioned councillors refused the proposal. The chair of the Audit and Governance Committee of Cheshire East Council shared my concerns and supported my proposal and phoned the parish clerk to express her views, but they were rejected. These councillors have willfully ignored good advice on the conduct of an extremely important piece of council business. This is what Smith says. The clerk pointed out to the meeting that no vote on this item had taken place and that Councillor Tolver's statement was therefore premature. He confirmed that he had spoken to Councillor Smethen and that he did not agree with the comments. Why? I've seen sight of the comments and the emails. I'd like to know why. Because there's definitely the chance of a prejudicial interest here, and that is a criminal offence. I want to know why 4 councillors, or at least 3 of them, took it upon themselves to run the risk, or indeed come very close, if not on, not just breaching the law, but walking all over it. He goes on. The next item of business on the agenda was 16, 14, 18 to ratify the appointment of a new parish clerk. Councillor Sullivan reviewed the interview process, informing the meeting that the interview panel unanimously agreed that Mr. A. Komsky-Dawson was the best candidate. Councillor Sullivan proposed, seconded by Councillor Samson, that Mr. Komsky-Dawson be offered the post of clerk subject to satisfactory references on an SLCC contract incorporating the terms outlined in the job advertisement. He then finishes resolved unanimously, yeah, so what it was. He finishes this off by saying, I apologise for the length of this document, but I believe it to be essential to challenge Thompson and Tolber's varied accusations of illegality and improper behaviour, none of which have been proven. Bollocks. They absolutely have. This is a complete... all he's doing is completely childishly denying what's been proven. It's stupid. And for the public to be aware of the pattern of behaviour which reduces the effectiveness of HPC working for the good of ANFO. And that's the diarrheaotribe. That final part, you can stop from reading. Now, if you want, I'm happy to do a special on that. As far as I'm concerned, that statement was just a load of rubbish. The only thing that stopped and still stops HPC from working effectively is its toxicity and those within it who bring that toxicity. And they know who they are. Okay? I've now outed the last part of that diarrheaotribe. It's been silent. That went out nearly 8 years ago. In fact, actually, we're coming up 8 years ago. That long ago. But now it's public. I apologise for the length of this video, but this was a big one. And a big part. Hope you've enjoyed it. Any questions, ask them. I'm always here. Make them sensible. Hope you've enjoyed it. Stay tuned. Thank you.